Wife City.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Wife City's unnamed podcast.
That's a good name for it. So that does completely undo the name.
Yeah, it doesn't really quite mesh up.
We'll think of one later. We'll have one by the time we post it. Maybe.
I highly doubt it.
If it's called anything different, we will have. If not, it's to be determined.
It'll probably just be called the Wife City Podcast.
Sounds good. I like that.
And what better foot to start off the new piece of media that we're putting out there than by having the first episode be about, quote, content.
Scare quotes, indeed.
Yes. The people at home can't see me doing it, but I am indeed doing the air quotes with my fingers.
She is. It's very daunting.
And yeah, I don't know. We were going to do Akadama Drive. We still plan on talking about Akadama Drive. It's probably going to have to wait until next month just because we don't have the time to finish watching through the rest of it.
We need to rewatch it and get a few things together.
But yesterday, I don't know what struck it in me. I think it was maybe listening to a different podcast. A friend of mine, Mr. Enrico Zenitani, has started a podcast where he talks to other VTubers and stuff. And when you have a career in streaming and things of that nature, and just general social media, it's easy to just kind of lump yourself in as under the wide umbrella that is content
creator
or content creator. And I don't like the term. I'm going to preface this by saying, if you at home are a quote content creator and are okay with that word referring to what you do and what you put out there, that's fine. This isn't a judgment call on my part towards you or the majority of other individuals who do what you do. It is a personal gripe, and it's something that comes from, I guess, my background in performance art and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you said that you don't I feel like you've have less of an issue with it.
I've had less of an issue using it, but it's for the acceptance of what it is. In that what we do is very much something that we're trying to create a lucrative thing out of, and it's either you need to accept that it is content in a way, or you need to completely distance yourself from it. It's more that I don't like hearing people who do the whole kind of hand wavy, oh, I know, content, right? But can we talk about that? Can we talk about content? If you're going to be content evil, you're going to keep calling it content, though. There's a problem with it. Let's talk about it. A lot of people who do use the term content are making aware that there's something about this that's evil and things that are inherently fucked up about it. And it's weird that everyone just accepts it regardless, I think.
It's hard to nail down exactly.
It's a very...
It's why I had to do the preface about hey, this isn't me putting anyone down when I talk about this, because if you are a content creator, and especially if you are one who is successful, you've clearly figured out something that I have not.
Yes.
As a, I'll just say, creative on the internet is how I prefer to refer to it. I like the little rhyme I did there. Prefer to refer to it.
I like that. It's nice.
But I think the main crux of the issue that I take with content is... So this is going to kind of lead to me talking about kind of a bunch of different pieces of media. Kind of the main one being Bo Burnham's Inside, which I know I'm a year late to talking about that film, but I think it's a very important piece of the conversation because I was re-listening to the album of the songs, and there's certain bits and pieces in there that really nail home like some of the issues that I have with referring to the things that you do and output as a creator as just content. Like specifically the one that I want to pinpoint is like in the song Welcome to the Internet. We've got mountains of content, some better, some worse. If none of it's of interest to you, you'd be the first. And the metaphorical mountain of content ends up being the thing, because I don't think people really consider a lot of times, especially when you are someone that's trying to be an up and coming, quote, content creator.
Mm-hmm.
The human mind can't really process those kinds of numbers without seeing the like real physical examples of like what that entails. Like you see it when people talk about like wealth inequality and stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, this grain of rice represents like making this figure of income, this represents this represents this, and it like is this exponential increase. And I think we don't know what that looks like in regards to your output as an artist. Like especially as a streamer or something like that. Like a lot of times there ends up being that infographic that goes around talking about like, hey, if you have like on average above 5 viewers on Twitch, you're in like the top percentile. And you've seen that, right?
No, I have.
And when you it's a very deceptive thing.
Yes.
It's almost like psyop in nature, what that graph does, because one, that doesn't take into consideration that probably that like large swath of people who are like under like the average of 5 viewers are probably people that don't even stream, or at most like stream once a month or something like that. And it's like, yeah, of course you're going to be in the top percentile. The majority of people on that platform are just there to watch. They're not really there to produce. And it just I'm starting to have a moment where I'm getting lost in thought.
There's also a lot of people who are just like starting too at any given time, whether to continue to do it regularly or not. There's always going to be that increase of people as well. And there is still also just the massive inequality in like, when you look at the people who are the front page Twitch streamers, who I think most people just don't. I mean, I say most people. I don't know who any of those people are, and I don't care.
Well, here's what you're talking about is kind of besides the point of what I remembered while you were saying that, what I wanted to say, which is that like, because we don't really conceptualize those numbers, we don't realize how lost in that mountain we really are in terms of the quote content that you put out there. Like, you are literally a pebble on a mountain.
Yes.
At most. Like, at the most, until you start, like, getting at least in triple digits or something like that. But speaking on numbers, this ends up being the main crux. This ends up being another, like, big crux of, like, why, like, referring to things as content seems like a bit of a nail in a coffin in terms of up and coming as a streamer, because as soon as you start conceptualizing yourself as putting out content, a thing for people to consume, not a thing for people to appreciate, but just a thing for people to eat and go out the window later. Once you start conceptualizing it as that is when the numbers come in there.
Yes.
And that poisons the well from the very beginning, in my opinion.
That is true. I use the term content purely because I don't have a better word for what that sort of thing is, but it is always poisoned by that fact that if you are playing to the algorithm to have any kind of visibility whatsoever, to some degree, you can't control that, but as much as you feed into it, this alters the way that you present things.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it takes away from your art in
Well,
so many ways.
it alters the way you like perceive things. It alters the way that you think about things. Because again, listening to those other podcasts that I've been listening to, like, you hear people talk about like their anxiety in regards to streaming and like always having to be on, have to be on this, have to like make sure that I'm keeping the numbers up, keep doing that.
It's anxiety and numbers. It's the fucking stock market with video games.
Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, it creates brain worms inside of you. Like, once you start thinking of it as content, like, on top of whatever other brain worms you already have.
You realize
like,
we all have this one mental illness in common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, that ends up being a big part of why I hate referring to things as content.
Yeah.
Because it just turns you into a number and a statistic. Like, you are a thing in the pocket of this giant corporation. Like, you see it with the way that like YouTube talks about, like, you go into YouTube Studio to like upload your video or edit the info on it or something like that, and they have like all these like, here's what you can do to help improve your numbers, do this to help improve your numbers, when like the fact of the matter is, just like with every other creative medium that exists out there, it's almost entirely fucking luck.
Yes.
You, in the same way that like being born into a wealthy family or something like that is all up to chance, the majority of a normal person eventually hitting it big, or at least having some kind of break that lets them turn that into a career for themselves, that's just fucking luck.
Yeah.
You have almost no chance unless you are like on that like super alienating hustle that some people get on, where like you are just constantly working, constantly at it. You're on TikTok, you're on Instagram, you're on this channel, you're on this, just putting out everything you can, engaging in the numbers constantly, like at all periods of time that you can.
And hell, I'll say, you know, I'm not going to name names, obviously, but there are a couple content creators, you know, again, I hate to use a word, but here we are. If we're going to talk about it, now's the time, who I actually, for the most part, you know, in their larger numbers, I really liked what they've done with what they're doing, but in the desire to be the constant noise box, the constantly attentive, always putting on, you know, what they're doing, have become almost alienating to me in a way that I don't really enjoy the content for what it is anymore. A lot of the art gets sucked out of it, and a lot of the desperation just comes seeping through, and it becomes more a loud noise box.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
Because, and this ends up being like the second layer of why I don't like referring to it as content, because you used a word in there, the art.
Yes.
I think that using a blanket term like content is a really easy way to just immediately demean the actual things that you do.
It is. It turns a painting into a statistic. In fact, I actually have the Merriam-Webster's dictionary for content up here on my phone.
Okay.
It listed as the abhorrent
Bri
uncovered
the pedant
sneeze.
has logged in.
Yes, the abhorrent uncovered sneeze fluid that coats and commodifies everyone's art and passion projects for the financial gain of somebody else. And I think that's a pretty
Wait,
good
is that the
definition.
actual?
No, that's the one I just came up with before we started this. But it's basically that.
Sure.
And you know that is the thing. It so poisons the root of everything that you're doing that it changes everything.
Because there's a lot of really fucking talented people who stream out there. Like, there are plenty. Like, not only in our day-to-day lives and our day jobs are we alienated from the work that we actually put in. Like, I work in customer service. I am very actively, like, in that kind of position of, like, you know, de-escalation, you know, trying to schmooze with people, stuff like that. Like, exercising, like, inherent social talents.
Yes.
Like, these are things that are talents in me. It is not just a thing that I do for a job. It is a thing that I am good at as a person.
Yeah, God knows I can't do those things.
Yeah, we are already alienated from that work that we put in there, because the most you really get is, like, maybe the place you work at has, like, employee of the month or some shit like that, and maybe you get that once in your tenure with that job.
If I ended up on that wall, that would terrify me. See, I would feel like I'm doing something wrong.
I mean, I had it at one of my previous jobs, not my current job, but a previous job. I got that.
That's one of those, what am I doing with my life moments?
I mean, I don't think it's one of those, what are you doing with your life moments. Like, you're getting acknowledged. I'm not gonna say it's like something that you should be super proud of this, but it's more of a, like, you got acknowledgement at the very least.
Hashtag worker bee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
so,
I see a lot of darkness and everything.
So not only in your day-to-day life are you alienated from your actual talents and the things that you put out in the world, but then you go and do your hobby, or maybe it's your second job, or whatever it is that quote content creation is in your life, and you are alienating yourself from the talents that you have. Maybe you're a musician, maybe you're a comedian. Well, look at us. In some ways, we're pseudo improv comedians. I
guess so.
We're
kind of like a video gaming manzai act.
Sure. But, yes, that's a good way to put it. But, like, it's... I kind of hesitate to call us that, but that's, like, the closest thing I could think of to, like, compare what we do to. It's
complicated.
So there's stuff like that. I mean, there's other streamer friends we have. Someone like Barley Bap, who is basically fluent in Japanese and will, like, actively play, like, Japanese-only games, like, on her streams, and will be just translating that shit.
Yeah.
Like,
how she doesn't have 10 times her numbers, I have no idea.
Yeah. And is just able to do that on stream. Like,
that's incredible.
Yeah, that's a fucking phenomenal talent to have.
Yes.
And I don't think that she refers to what she does as content, like, at the very least, but, you know, there are probably other people who also do things of that nature who would refer to it as content, and it's like, you're exercising talents, you're in some cases performing an art. Like, as a performance artist, like someone who studied music and, like, performing music for several years, like, just kind of demeaning it to this blanket terminology of content, like, just feels like you're taking something that is a pristine thing for you that you have created and could possibly hone in the future and make even better and flourish, to just call it content and throw it onto the pile with, like, someone that just puts out a video that's like, here's a cat farting.
Yeah.
Like, your amazing talent is being lumped in with TikTok compilations of, like, pets doing stuff, and it's like
the family's dancing with ketchup, you know, it's weird. And it's funny you brought up also, like, you know, music and performance. Like, I was in a punk band for 2 years. We wrote new songs, we created new things, we got better at what we did, but most of the gem of what we were doing continued to exist. The same, if you will, if we were to call it at that time content, was repeated. We kept doing it. It was music. It had value. It was this thing that kept happening. The same as you don't get tired of, like, your favorite band's, you know, really good songs. If at any point in my life I was looking at what we were doing as the statistic of numbers that it hit within the first 10 minutes of uploading it and then it being thrown away into the garbage pile, that would have driven me completely mentally ill. More so than I am, granted. But, like, the heart wouldn't have been there. The desire to do what we did and to exceed as far as we did manage to get, which for a shitty little punk band was pretty damn good.
Sure.
You know, there wouldn't have been that hope for it or that desire or that love for it if it was just we did this thing, it's over, throw it away, next thing. Like, that's not what everything should be whittled down to.
Sure. And it's funny that you bring up that, like, kind of that specific position of, like, how... Shit. I'm trying to think of how I want to phrase it. But, like, how far you can take this and, like, not being so focused on... I need to, like, step back.
For
this
sure.
is going to be a part that I edit.
Of course.
Edit later.
Well, in that, like, we were, you know, we're not just focused on doing the new thing and grabbing onto, like, you know, a bunch of other things that are suddenly the important. Like, we had a vision. There was a thing that we wanted to do, and we didn't really shy away from that. You know, and it's not just in that music is a repeated art, but also that, like, we weren't trying to be this, like, noticed viral thing. We were just, there was a thing we wanted to do and we did it for the sake of doing it. You know, and I think there's a lot of beauty in that, and it stinks that platforms don't really give the room, nor is there any fathomable way to reach an audience in the way that all of these things are presented now.
And I think touching on the idea of having a vision, something like that, and what you create ties into something else, a different talking point I wanted to bring up, which is the weird idolization we have for the outliers in the content mountain that end up being, like, things that are more elevated, in scare quotes, in the public eye, things that are like, damn, that was really cool. That was not a thing that I've quite seen before. Which, returning to it, Bo Burnham's Inside, Smiling Friends, Wayne Radio TV's Half-Life VR, but the AI is self-aware.
Yes.
Like, these are all things that people with visions and, like, talents created, and that realistically anyone can create. However, the response to them when you, again, look to the content mountain of, like, your YouTubes or whatever, are like, how Bo Burnham did Inside. Like, no one will ever make another thing like Smiling Friends.
Yeah, why this? Yeah, the Bo Burnham thing was a big one. Why this is the greatest thing to ever happen? It's just like, no,
like,
it isn't.
Don't get me wrong, it's very good.
It's incredible.
But a lot of the shit that he does in there is stuff that's super feasible to any one person with a budget and, like, time to do research and film all this shit to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally just because he has the means to those things that he is able to do those things. You're able to do something like Half-Life VR, but the AI is self-aware because you have this team of, like, people who are very talented in these different aspects, like people who are, like, actual, like, programmers and shit, like, working on that, like, trying to get this like rickety machine running in some way or another. You have something like Smiling Friends is able to exist and do what it does because they've been schmoozing. Like, someone like Zach Hadel has technically been in the animation business for, like, how long has Newgrounds been around?
A long time.
Like, at least a decade at this point. So, like, these are all things that are feasible for any one person to do. It's just a matter of having the right connections, having the means to create them and things like that. But when it all, like, kind of gets squashed into this, like, mountain of content, things that you consume in the now, and it either sticks in your brain or immediately goes out the other ear, you have those moments like that, and you're like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. This is amazing.
Wow.
And like it is just, it's really, it feels like it's disheartening to the people who like could be creatives out there, but aren't able to because they don't have the means currently.
Yes, whether it is your actual opinion or just the clickbaity article that, you know, your content that is the response to other content is, which we'll get even deeper into, I'm sure. You know, that, like you said, this is the thing that people see that and go, wow, I could never do anything good. That's the thing. Whenever anyone sees a minuscule thing I've done, an old song that I did, they find a recording, or they see like something that I've done, they go, you're so amazing. I wish I could be cool like you. It's like, literally you could. Yeah. Anyone fucking can. Yeah, but people get really down on themselves when they see people put on these pedestals, and it's like, it's not.
Which, speaking of pedestals, that ties into another thing, is when you start lumping like these content creators, like these creatives, as like the ones that really did the thing. You are also falling into the trap of, I feel like you're more likely to form those kinds of weird, toxic, like parasocial relationships with people once you start idolizing them in those kinds of ways. Like, this person made this. Yeah. It is all thanks to them. Zach Hadel did Smiling Friends, and it was all him. And it's like, no, it was a team. Yes. It was a group of people that were able to make this thing come together. Like, even something like Inside, like, I doubt Bo Burnham literally made that by himself. He almost definitely had help of some kind. Like, you look at the credits, and I think there are other people's names in there. There had to have been producers that, like, gave him money to do these things. He had a deal with Netflix that got him the money to, like, that gave him the platform to put that out there. Like, these are not the sole child of just a single person. There's a vision there that, you know, is probably like a strong component of that one creative, but it does not exist without the rest of the people that helped to make it. So I feel like we've kind of gone off topic a little bit, but it still kind of lumps into the content thing of like, you are not just, you and what you do are not just content and content creators. Yes. You are so much more than that as a person.
You are a list of various talents, and at the end of the day, an artist. And, you know, if we want to put a label on it, that's a good label. Yeah. Like, there's so much time and effort and just everything that goes into making anything that is blanketed under content. You know, I don't want to sound like an old person here, but it used to be called art. But, like, no, really. Like, before everything became this obsession with having to fit this bill to make things visible on all of these platforms, I feel like, you know, it really takes away.
Yeah, and it. Tying into the you are so much more than content, we can kind of mildly talk about the thing that we saw on YouTube last night that crushed our soul.
Yes, we can.
Where, like, it was some verified YouTube account, probably has like fucking like 1 million subscribers. The video itself had like 500,000 views on it. Yes. And like, it's like a lady in like a conventionally attractive woman in bed, in a like hospital bed, and like the thumbnail is like her smiling, and it's like, first week on chemo,
part 1, my journey. And it's we let it roll over with the cursor over it, and she's doing the looking at the camera smiling format thing.
And
it's like,
and like the subtitle opening line was like, so woke up this morning and wasn't expecting it, but turns out I have breast cancer. And it's like,
it was so, it's really what springboarded us into recording this today. We knew we wanted to talk about this, but then while we were talking about it, we saw that and we went, we need to talk about this.
This is so sincerely fucked as a thing. just in general.
Yeah.
Like, that is an example of what happens when you view the things you do and aspects of your life as content.
Yes.
You going through a life or death struggle with fucking chemo becomes a thing that you are serializing for people to watch on the internet. And like, fucking God bless that woman for
Sure.
like having the bravery to be very upfront about that shit. Like,
But
I certainly wouldn't do it if I had gotten breast cancer, but I also wouldn't have fucking done it because that's my own goddamn business.
Like, this very private, serious, and intense medical shit. Like, honestly, I think back to like when I first transitioned, I found one like trans YouTuber, and I was like, I need to do this.
Yeah.
By her visibility, it helped me figure out who I was and what I needed. So I now need to be the spokesperson. And I gave free advertising to products and makeup. I put myself and my medical information down to the milligram of the shit I was taking to this wide audience of a couple hundred people. And I was like, why am I doing this? I deleted them all. I went back, I was like, this was fucking stupid. Why did I feel so compelled to make my medical information visible to literally everyone?
Yeah.
There were ways of like helping people and gaining visibility and being someone on the internet who had this going on or could offer this advice without having to do all of that.
Yeah.
And get into all of these things, but people feel compelled to. God knows I did. And that was just for that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the trap of social media.
It is.
Like, because I think we're at the point now where we're past that phase where, like, literally random people could just, like, become superstars.
Oh, yeah.
Like, someone like a Bo Burnham isn't gonna fucking happen again.
No.
Like, that's just not the case. The closest thing you have to someone like that right now is like a Germa, who is like kind of like exponentially getting bigger and bigger every day. And I could see him like getting a TV deal or something like that. Like,
yeah, closer cliques of people create these sort of macrocosms over time that are, you know, like they're never going to be the like huge freaking thing, but who even wants to now? Like,
well, that's kind of besides the point of what I was going to say, but like we are past the point of just the random people like being able to blow up and become like randomly famous or viral, especially now because virality as a concept on the internet is so short-lived.
yeah.
Like, you become a meme and you're done.
Yeah.
You have literally a week and then no one fucking remembers who you are.
Yes.
Like, compared to like 2012 where like you could have some dumbass interview with you on like a local news channel and that becomes like a meme for like several months. Like, there's videos of you getting vocoded, like there's all sorts of shit referencing you. Like, we are no longer there. Meme accelerationism has like fully reached its apex where like it is there and it's gone. Like, you blink and you literally miss whatever like the fucking thing was that people were all into. But at the time that you were probably trying to get into YouTube was like, we were still in that kind of like nascent period where like people were trying to convince themselves like, I could probably hit it big with YouTube.
Oh yeah, there were so many white straight couples who were just living the urban environment and getting tons of like thousands, sometimes millions of views for being a, you know, at least on camera functioning straight white couple in an urban environment who do things and have tasks in their day. And millions of people, me sadly included at a time, would during a time of Great Depression and lack of direction would go, oh, this looks neat, what are they up to now? And you know, that gained a lot of traction. I don't know if it still would. I don't know if there's so many people are doing that now. Like, it's not It's not a huge thing anymore, I don't think.
It's hard to say.
Yeah,
like,
because if it is, it's just fallen off of my particular algorithmic radar.
Well, I mean, at that point, I think it's most likely because the only people who are like randomly becoming that are people who, again, either get like just randomly super fucking lucky, like they somehow figured out the secret algorithm code on YouTube that like gets people to like discover your thumbnails and shit like that, or they have money.
Yeah.
They were already financed in some sort of way, so they could afford to promote their shit. They could afford to like hire a publicist or something like that too.
And I mean, when you consider that a lot of these people are, people in, the people I'm talking about are in like high-rise lofts with like tons of money and a dog and can just afford to spend every day vlogging about hobbies and shopping, they're probably doing okay.
Yes.
They're probably doing quite all right.
And yeah, I guess here becomes the problem is how the fuck do we tie that back into content, because it's like at that point,
I mean, that's the thing, that's commodifying your very life.
Yeah, that's commodifying your existence. And I guess that the
really fucked up thing about like the upwave in vlogging as for like, and that may have been where like that one thumbnail we found came from, is just that's the natural progression of someone else's vlogging.
It's clearly the natural progression of vlogging. Like, I can see in like 30 years someone being on their literal deathbed, like someone who started off as like a young blogger, and then like 40 years later they're like, all right, we finally hit the big one.
What's up, guys? This might be my finale post. It's gonna be real fucking dark, and it's just...
I mean, most likely not, because if you're making that kind of money doing that type of stuff, you probably retire at like 40.
That's true.
you get...
Assuming you're working at all.
Sure.
But it's very much one of those things where it's like how much of your life has to become content. And and I couldn't imagine being in that position, just because even for the light portion of time that I put a chunk of what I was doing into that's gross.
Well, I think that's
your human life.
I think that's the truly dangerous thing about it, is much like the insidious nature of like the numbers already being there from the beginning. Once you start referring to it as content, then everything that you do can just slowly creep into the content mine. Like, I mean, not to break the fourth wall here, but we're kind of just having a conversation right now.
We are.
Like, admittedly, we're a bit more self-aware of it because we literally have a microphone in front of us.
We are. But this is the kind of conversation you and I would traditionally have.
Yeah, this is literally just a conversation that we would have about a thing. Like, us talking about, like, a really good anime or a really good movie is a thing that we would just naturally do. Like, but we're recording it.
Yes.
We are technically, in all technical terms, commodifying a part of our day-to-day life.
We are.
Us streaming on Twitch is us commodifying a daily part of our day-to-day life. Someone, not yesterday, but like the other day, was asking if we would ever do like Wife City cooking streams or something like that, and that would be commodifying another part of our day-to-day life.
It would.
We know other streamers who are like into specific niches, and like we'll have like, the option to ask them questions on stream about those very specific niches, and that's commodifying a part of your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Like, it becomes more and more invasive.
It's very
like,
sinister.
It is a very, very easy thing to completely fucking lose track of, and you hit a certain point where you do not know where your commodified existence and non-commodified existence like begin and end. And like, that's already a problem under fucking capitalism, just working at a job.
Yeah.
Like, the majority of friends that a lot of people make are through your workspace. like it is just people that you work with on the job, and because you spend so much of your life with them, they just become your friends kind of naturally. But how much of them being your friend is actually a result of, you know, really like properly getting along with each other, and how much of it is, you know, you work with each other and you kind of learn how to like vibe off of one another because of that.
Yeah.
And that ends up becoming its own commodified and decommodified thing. Like it's all this fucking insidious mess.
It is.
That ties back to capitalism is bad.
Capitalism
It's bad.
is bad.
It's real bad.
I think that, like, the part of me that, you know, is okay with calling what we do, you know, by the name of content is also that I try to compartmentalize it. You know me, and we have a
Sure.
saying sometimes before a stream. Long story short, I have mental illnesses. Not every day is happy, sunshines, and rainbows, but I try to bring that to the stream, right? But, like, there is a certain portion of me that I ignore and shut off. A, for the case of having a good time, and B, because I don't necessarily want to make all of my problems, you know, into content. That's not what I'm trying to bring to what we're doing, and I'm aware that it's a separate entity of my life itself. However, I have met some of the kindest people I've ever talked to doing what we do. I've made what I consider genuine
Totally.
friends. Better
Absolutely.
than a lot of people I've known, like IRL, like just fucking doing what we're doing.
Sure.
And so a lot of my life and my communications are through this stuff that becomes another melding of that, which isn't bad. Like, it's a good portion of it, but it also does kind of make it hard to kind of find those lines of, like, how much can I share? How much should I? What is business? What isn't in this endeavor? So it's a very, it just gets kind of mishmashed into it. Like you said, your private life and work, the way that those kind of meld together as well. It's just a lot, you know, to kind of navigate what is that genuine portion and what is, you know, work.
Yeah. We all have different masks that we wear, and unfortunately a lot of the times, like, the masks cross over between, like, the different portions of your life.
Yeah.
And it is a weird thing to deal with.
It is.
And it becomes even more of a weird thing to deal with once you start, like, qualifying yourself as a content creator, because then that is a second job.
It is.
It is, you are just making content. You maybe have your specialty, but you are defining yourself as a content creator. So how much content can we wring out of you?
Yeah. I prefer the term
The-
streamer.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that's what I end up coming down to, is it becomes like almost a semantic thing where, like, it maybe sounds like I'm being fucking pedantic, but, like, I think there's a genuine, like, kind of moral qualm that you have to, like, face at some point in yourself when you are creative in this modern day and age. Like, do you want to just call yourself a content creator, or do you want to, like, more, like, solidly define what you do?
Yes.
Are you a streamer? Are you a musician? Do you stream yourself playing? Are you a streamer and musician?
Uh-huh.
Like, it's why I understand why some people just fall under that term, like, let themselves fall under the umbrella of a content creator, because
Sure.
people wear a bunch of different hats. I play music. I stream. I don't fucking know what else I do.
Yeah. So we used to do so much more with the time, but, you know,
But to finish my point, like, it becomes a very easy crutch to just be like, I'm a content creator, but once you start doing that, you kind of start missing the forest for the trees. Like, you really, you gotta be willing to acknowledge all the shit that you do
you do.
and the amount of work that you are able to put into those things that you do. even if it's something as simple as literally just streaming video games, you are performing.
You are.
Like, we all are performing every fucking day of our lives. If you are out there and socially functioning, or not even socially functioning, but just out there socializing in the world, whether you are being yourself or not being yourself, you are performing.
Oh, yes.
The world is a stage, as they say.
I have made a lot of, like, genuine, just almost like roll over to expose belly comments and friendly banter to people that I'm afraid otherwise will feel like I'm being imposing. Yeah. Like, just to avoid any kind of weird shit. Like, just how I'm viewed by people is constantly on my mind for its own different reasons.
Yeah. So we are all constantly performing, even if there is, like, a genuine nature to that performance that you are putting on, you are still performing.
Yeah.
And when you are streaming, even if you're, like, fucking at that one viewer, like, you don't talk that much, but are still, like, playing that game, you're still performing, in a sense. You are literally broadcasting yourself onto an open platform. Even if there's no one watching, you are performing.
Yes.
And that is why I don't feel right just kind of barring it down to just content. Mm-hmm. You are creating art. Yes. Even if you do not feel like what you are doing is art, or even if you know that what you're doing isn't art in a classical sense.
Yeah.
Like, when we like fucking like have you in the middle of a stream, I embarrass you by having you try to point to Germany on a map.
Yes.
Like, in all technical terms, that isn't art.
No.
But that is performative comedy.
It is.
Like, so it...
Yeah, you know what, that's the thing. I like to cover everything that I do and give it the grandiose nature of approval that it requires. Like, you know, I say, like, yeah, I've started doing digital art. Yes, I stream video games. Yes, I make music. At least I used to, trying to do that more. But everything you do should have some scope of focus. Like, you do these things. You take this time and this effort to do the stuff you do. So at a point, even if you are just doing all these things, you know, in a visible eye and just calling it all content, it does feel like you're just kind of flattening the importance of each of those things that you're doing. Yeah. As just, I'm a maker, I do stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a stuff doer. Oh, my niece does stuff. Yeah, I do too, on the internet, right? Yeah, the internet.
You're productive.
Look at all this shit that we're doing.
You're a production. You're a content factory. Like, that ends up being the thing, is it turns you into just another, like, body on the production line. Mm-hmm. Instead of it being a, like, no, you are... Well, it's weird. You're not only another body on the production line, you are the production line. Yes. If you end up falling deep enough into, like, the content mill. You not only are the person that is, like, fucking putting together the, like, dolls that are gonna, like, filled with asbestos that are gonna poison your kids. You are also the doll filled with asbestos that's gonna poison the kids. You are the conveyor belt bringing
you the doll to the...
Yeah, and it...
You're the boxes that ship the dolls that are you off the conveyor belt that is you, who was packed by, again, you. You become your own workhorse, which maybe that's liberating in some ways to some people. Like, I have to say it is for me. Like, I do like having a certain level of creative control in, like, the things that I do.
Oh, sure. Well, I just mean in my terms of phrasing it as, like, you are your own workhorse.
Well, like, yeah, I mean, like, we've seized the means of some of the production, despite the immense amount of all of our work being sapped by a corporation. But
you haven't really seized you haven't really seized the means of production.
Yeah.
All you've done is decided that you are going to produce a thing that is wholly your own.
Yes.
And I think I hit on something that I think I've hit on a profound point. Oh. No, it's not profound, but, like, Shit, what did I say?
God damn it.
I said something really smart, and then I lost it. It was
hit
really
on the
smart.
bit of like you're giving away something that is your own.
Yeah, you have gained your own means of production, but you are just kind of tossing it onto the mountain.
Yeah.
Instead of you holding it up as being this pristine thing that you created. You're like, no, this is mine. This thing here is my art. This is what I did. You instead have gone, well, I sure didn't make that.
Yep.
I sure did make that.
Yep.
Yeah, go into the power.
You look at the single digit number that it accumulates and go, that was cool. Let's do that again. And you just keep putting it on.
Yeah.
And that I gotta say too, you know, I have a certain amount of like just general respect for people who do things that to I think most people would seem like, you know, just absolute insane drivel. But like I love seeing people who do put themselves like on a certain pedestal and celebrate and love what they do. I've seen just these people sometimes who are just these absolutely insane creators who do stuff that it's just like, you know, it's like, you know what, they're really giving what they do some love, and there's some that just don't degrade it or put it through any of the traditional means, and it's like, best of luck in that situation, but god damn it, go you. Like,
Yeah.
for like really kind of taking control of what you do and like running your own website in this day and age. Like, that's fucking
sure.
amazing.
Yeah.
So
I mean, shit,
you know,
I'm proud of what we do
I am
on
too.
our channel. Like, it's why I don't like calling what we do just content.
yeah.
Because it is something that I genuinely have fun doing. It is something that I take pride in. Like, I think we're pretty fucking funny.
I think so too. It's
like-
really the bright spot of any day of mine that we're streaming. That's my favorite part of the day.
Yeah.
We're very performative people, you and I think we really love to, you know, to both entertain and just like doing that it's socializing, it's getting to be funny, it's just putting out this really positive energy.
Yeah.
And it's a good feeling.
And that's the reason why I don't like calling what we do content. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm certainly gonna try to monetize the shit out of the things that we put out there.
So will I, because
Like-
capitalism.
Yes, because you know what? It would be nice to just, like, you know, make a living off of, like, bullshitting and playing games with my wife, like, 4 days a week.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
We put a lot of
Because
work
you know
into
what? You know what I could also do in those other free days I have?
edit.
No, I could play video games with you casually.
That's true too.
Like, that's the thing.
Remember when we did that? But yeah,
I
like,
mean, I still play games
yeah,
casually.
insane. It's hard to find the time. I have a lot of
Yeah.
things going on, but like when you're,
So do I.
yeah, I know. But like really, what you were saying before about just like the, you know, if you call it content, it's like what does that make of like the interactions we have, the people we've met through this, the time we have just having fun doing this thing.
That too.
Like, I would hate to be, like, you know, having these genuine conversations, again, with these people who I genuinely consider friends, and be like, wasn't that content cool when I talked to you and created that content? That's gross.
No, yeah, like, that's the thing, is, like, people that we've worked with, we do genuinely find entertaining and enjoy the time that we, like, stream and work with them.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that I've loved working with 80% Relatable, loved working with Pixel Mavericks, loved working with the Retro Pals.
We actually got to meet the Pixel Mavericks. That was amazing.
Yeah,
Wonderful
like,
people, it turns out.
yeah, they're just very genuinely nice people.
We figured out from each other that we're both basically who we are online, so that's good to know that I'm putting out a genuine energy.
Yeah.
And,
But, like, those have been, like, very genuine interactions, and it's what, and yeah, like you were saying, it's another part of why I don't like just kind of lumping it down as content, because these aren't just people that you collaborate with.
no,
like,
they aren't just viewers. They aren't...
You don't just collaborate with this person to create a piece of content.
No.
You are performing together.
Yeah.
You are creating something in the moment that other people are maybe going to consume, maybe going to hold up as like this really like fantastic thing, but you are creating in that moment a piece of, I'll go ahead and do it, I'll call streaming art. You're creating art. Like,
it is. It's video producing, it's audio balancing. It's
there is in fact an art to it. Like, again, going back to what I was saying, you're doing video producing, you're doing audio producing, you are like doing all kinds of troubleshooting there. Like, it is so much more than just like you are creating content together. You are artists working together in this thing, and this is going to be the most pretentious like really, bullshit that I've ever said.
And you were talking about, like, you know, the people we work with. Like, I don't think we, at least by choice, would ever work with anyone that we didn't feel like we would have fun with. That's the thing. Everyone that we ask to work with us on things are people who we know or we think at the time would be like, we love your energy, we feel like we have something that can play off this. We would like to, like, do this with you for the sake of doing it, because it'll be fun. It's going to be a good fucking time. I would feel disgusted with myself if I was, like, sending emails to randos with high numbers who I would have nothing to fucking say to, going like, hey, do you want to work on a project together? For the views? No, I don't fucking care.
Like, at the end of the day, I want to monetize what we do, but I do not want to sacrifice it for the sake of creating a content that pleases the algorithmic gods and eventually gets us recognized.
I'm always willing to kind of, like, lean towards something that seems like it might be a more intriguing way to go with our own projects, but I would never want to start creating something or doing things that alienate what we're already doing, that go against what we actually want to be doing. You know, because that becomes purely business then, and it becomes just not what we're aiming at.
And that's another thing that you kind of have to, like, come to terms within yourself, is that trying to make a living isn't just doing business. You know, there's more to living than just the money that you make.
Exactly.
Like, it is also in fact about being able to connect with people and, you know, enjoy what you do, etc., etc.
Of course. And I don't think that, like, striving to, you know, as I think most people who create do, you know, I don't think striving for making the most enjoyable portions of the time that you work on the things in your life the main focus of your financial income should ever come at the expense of why you love those things or why you're doing it. But it's an ever-present looming thing. And it is there. Where do we go from here?
I think that we kind of picked too wide of a topic.
We may have. This is part one of content.
No, this is probably the one thing that we ever do on this topic, because
just to get it out in the open and get it out of us.
Because I feel like that's a good first thing to do in a podcast that is supposed to, like, try and maybe encourage people to support us over on patreon.com/wifecity.
Patreon.com?
Yes, that's right.
/wifecity?
Where if you support us for $5 or more a month, you get early access to this podcast.
What a great deal!
You can tell how excited I am about the part of this where we're supposed to plug ourselves for, you know, whatever people aren't, you know, already supporting us on our platforms. Is this actually where it ends?
I'm afraid it is.
I guess we have been talking for like an hour.
Next month, something happier.
We're gonna be talking about Akudama Drive. I don't know if that's necessarily happier.
Happier, but more exciting, perhaps. But this, I'm glad that we got a lot of these thoughts out, because you and I have been looming on this for some time.
I mean, this is one of those things that we've, like, kind of been on and off discussing since we basically started a Patreon.
Yeah.
Like, because I have always very much been adamantly against, like, no, I don't want to fucking call what we do content.
Yeah.
Fuck that shit.
You've always been stronger about that than me, and I entirely understand your point of view.
Yeah. I mean, again, to reiterate what I said in the beginning, if you are a streamer or, you know, a quote content producer and are okay with referring to yourself and what you do.
If you are content with that.
If you're content with with being called a content creator, and you feel like you've very genuinely like sorted out these things in your mind, bless ya. Tell us your secret. No. Go with God. But yeah, I've always been very against the idea. I hate it. I really, really hate it.
Understandable.
Just to parse it down, the TLDR for this podcast is
content. I hate it.
Jay hates it. Bri.
I treat it as business.
I thought you just said that we weren't just treating it like business.
Well, I'm saying the portion of it that we do need to treat as business is considered. It's what it is. We live in a complex system of capitalism, and
of course
there are certain things to consider. But you know, it's something I try to keep separate of like life, breathing, listening to music, being a person, going somewhere, walking in nature, and not taking pictures. You know.
Yeah.
You gotta have the between time.
Anyways, if you've discovered this podcast and you somehow don't follow us on our other platforms, you could find us primarily on twitch.tv/wifecity, where we stream ourselves playing video games like fucking clowns, because this podcast is definitely not an indication of how we normally are.
No. We're a lot less funny right now. We're a humor-based stream, believe it or not.
Yeah, you can find our archived VODs and some of the compilations that we do for that Twitch channel on youtube.com/wifecity. And you could find our usual announcements for our streams on twitter.com/wifecitygaming. Boners. I didn't think that would actually make you laugh. What the
I'm a
fuck?
child. Anyway.
Oh my fucking god. That was an hour of very depressing, a very serious conversation. Welcome to our comedy podcast.
Dicks.